Hello and welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Melissa. I am the owner and artist here at the Top Drawer RVA located in Richmond, Virginia. And for today's project, we're going to be doing something a little bit different, something that I've never tried before. So of course, why not film the entire process and give you a how-to video? I picked up this cute little dresser from my local Goodwill for around $30. It is in great condition other than some minor cosmetic flaws. Let's get to work and fix those up before we begin our paint process. And a cool little side note is that this dresser is too from Richmond, Virginia, which is kind of neat. Originally, I had thought about using a beautiful decoupage paper on the front of this piece, but after I laid out a plan and looked at it a little closer, I've decided on something different. But before I begin the paint process, it's always a ton of prep. Since this piece had bubbling and loose veneer, I'm going to scrape off all of the loose and missing pieces and fill it in entirely with wood filler. For large repairs like this, I like to use wood filler versus Dixie Belle's mud because it is a little bit stronger of a product. I'm going to scrape on the mud and cover this area completely. Once I am done putting this mud on and smoothing it out, I can wait till it is dry and sand it back to flat. At that point, I will add Dixie Belle's mud if I find any small, minor detail repair that needs to be filled in. So why bother scraping it all off if I'm just going to fill it in again? Well, because those little air bubbles that sit underneath the veneer always get worse after you paint and seal your project. They tend to grab moisture underneath of them and push the holes up and the bubbles up that little bit more. So I would rather put in the extra grunt work and get them gone before I even begin. This also goes for the sides of the piece where any veneer, chips, or scratches might be located. Wood filler always takes ages to dry, so let's move on to the next step. I originally thought that I was going to decoupage these drawers, but I started looking at them a little bit closer and thought, well, let's sand one back and see what happens. And I actually love the color underneath, so I got out my Surf Prep sander and sanded off the finish from all 4 drawers. Since I am working indoors in my studio, this Surf Prep sander really saves the day. I'm going to link it in the description if you're looking. Since it attaches to a shop vac, it is the perfect tool for me to use inside my home. Also going to sand off the finish on the front 2 legs. It's been 24 hours. We are ready to get rid of the texture from that repair on the top. Smooth that down to nice and flat, and you won't even know it was there when you paint on top of it. You might find that sealing this before you paint it is helpful. You can use Dixie Belle's Boss for this, the Bonding Boss, or a clear coat. Now that the drawers are sanded, I'm going to wet them. By wetting them, I can kind of see the original color of the wood and work on a plan for this design choice. I found a bunch of really funky little gray spots and stains in this wood. So I'm wondering how I can get rid of those gray lines and make this wood more uniform. Well, let me tell you, I have a little surprise for you. You've seen me use Dixie Belle Paint before, but we are going to use a brand new product today on the drawer fronts, and it is called Dixie Belle's Bleach. Don't worry, I'm going to explain everything that I know so far about wood bleach, but before we get to that part, let's paint the base of this dresser. Since we have the big spot of repair on the top as well as some on the sides, painting it really is my only option unless I was going to completely repair the top with brand new veneer, which let me tell you is not going to happen over here. So we will paint the base of this dresser in this gorgeous color called Bluegrass. Painting on 2 even coats of bluegrass using my smooth synthetic brush. You can also use a misting bottle filled with water if it helps you thin your paint a little bit on the second coat to get it nice and even and level. This paint is 0 VOCs, has a water base, and is safe to use indoors and around your pets. You saw my puppies at the beginning of this video. They are constantly hanging out with me in my studio space. So knowing that the products I use are safe to be used around my pets and my family is super important. I find that using my spray misting bottle to keep that paint nice and thin allows me a little bit of a better coverage on the first coat. The first coat of paint is going on nice and smooth, but using that water will really help me get it in any nooks and crannies and thin it out just a little bit. This chalk mineral paint has amazing coverage as well. I'm only going to be using about half of an 8-ounce can to paint this entire dresser. And actually, I even paint the sides on the back of the piece as well. All right, let's introduce you to a brand new product from Dixie Belle Paint Company. And like I said, this is totally the first time I'm using it as well, and I've never used wood bleach before. So hopefully this goes well, fingers crossed. Because even though this wood is already light, it has all of that really weird gray graining inside the wood that I do not want to see on my drawer fronts. All right, for this part of the video, you're going to want to work in a well-ventilated area and remove any pets and children from your area. This is wood bleach. There is a bit of a smell. I will be wearing a mask as well as using gloves on this project. We're going to start off by beginning to say that your wood surface must be unfinished or completely stripped of old paint, finish, wax, or polish. So this only works on naked wood. Part process, it comes with part A and part B. So starting with part A, you're going to grab a new sponge. I used a applicator pad for this project. You're going to want to saturate the area to be bleached. I saturated the pad and wiped it on. I'm sure you could also put this in a bowl and then put your sponge in the bowl and apply the product as well. So I saturated the entire drawer fronts where I want this wood bleach to be applied. You're going to then wait a little bit. You're actually going to wait 5 minutes on soft woods or 10 minutes on hardwoods. Since I don't know what kind of wood this is, I actually waited right in the middle at 8 minutes. So I heavily saturated my applicator pad and wiped it on in the direction of the wood grain, completely covering the wood area that I would like to bleach. Then after this product has been completely applied, I'm going to wait 8 minutes to come in and apply part B. All right, so here we go. This is part A, completely saturating the drawer fronts on my project. Using the applicator pad, making sure that it's completely even, and you can actually see on the bottom of the pad it was quite yellow when I was finished. Once this sits for 8 minutes, we're going to come in and do part B. So let's add this to the legs as well. Don't forget, I want to bleach them and then see what happens. Also, as a side note, your furniture might have different parts made of different kinds of wood. I believe that the feet on this piece are actually made from a different wood than the drawer fronts. Okay, it has been 8 minutes. So let's open part B of this project and apply this to the drawer fronts as well. Remember, I've waited 8 minutes and I'm using a brand new clean applicator pad. As per the instructions for step 2, you're going to apply this product while your surface is still wet. It's only been 8 minutes since you put down that first coat, but you're definitely going to want to use a new sponge to apply part B. I applied part B with a new sponge over top of part A, again wiping on in the direction of the wood grain and fully saturating the drawer fronts for this project. So since I've never used wood bleach before, I really didn't know what to expect. I wanted to lift that gray grain that was in the wood because this wood was already light to begin with. As per instructions, it says that you can sand lightly after your wood has been dry for 24 hours. I found that there was a little bit of beading product on the edge of my drawer fronts. It's almost like there's a raised grain that happens when you apply wood bleach, but a simple light sand after 24 hours to see what you come out with is totally recommended. So that, my friends, is Wood Bleach 101. Apply part A with a brand new clean sponge in the direction of the wood grain, thoroughly saturating, and then waiting approximately 8 minutes to apply the second coat. After that second coat is down and dry for 24 hours, you can then sand it lightly to see what happens with the wood grain. I was completely surprised that this actually actually worked. Believe it or not, using this wood bleach product took out all of that gray that was on the front of those drawers. I don't know how, but it did. Look at them now. That is absolutely crazy. I'm going to leave them naked and just apply my little knobs that I picked up on Amazon to match the paint color. Once I put it all together, I felt like it was still missing something. So I went through my stash and I found these cute little half rounds, and they are the exact same color as the drawers that I just bleached out. So I applied them across the top of this line, waited for it to dry, put it all back together, and we have a beautiful new piece. This tiny dresser was dated and dark, and like I said, found at the thrift store for $30. Look at it now. It is so light, airy, and modern. I'm going to show you close up what these drawers look like. Remember, I didn't seal them, I didn't change them. This is just the naked wood. You can tell that it has pulled out all of that gray marking, those gray stains that were on the front of this wood, and it is now light and bright and airy. You do have the option after you have bleached out your wood to stain over top. If you had a cherry wood stain or something red, you could simply use this product to pull out that color before you stain. Thank you for watching and joining me on this little experiment. I totally had a blast. Make sure to hit like and subscribe, and I'll see you again next week.